Hello my friends, this is Jeannie. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And welcome to week 20 of an index card a week. Yeah, I know. We are so beyond week 20. I think technically we are wrapping up week 26, maybe. So I'm a little bit behind and that's okay. Life happens. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm just going to try to catch up. I think the last page I shared with you might have been week 8 or 9. I will link that video down below. So I really need to do a flip through to catch you all up from that last prompt I share up to today. Maybe what I will do is after this process video, I will attach depending how long this process video goes, I will attach the video doing a flip through up to this point. This is being hosted by Nonstop Paper Crafts. She provided a list of 52 prompts, one prompt for every week of the year. And the idea is to create an index card using that prompt. I am doing the art journal edition. Let's get into this. Week 20 is photos. So this is the background page I am working with here. It's one of the black and white pages. What I have been doing with these black and white background pages up to this point is just covering them. But I am challenging myself to use this particular background page at least once, right? I can't cover up every single black and white page. I would like to use at least one of them. So what I thought I would do is maybe cut the center of these flowers to create kind of photos or windows, and then collage something behind them. I don't know. That's what I thought of. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I don't have a solid plan. I have a very loose plan right now. I of course have on all of my Studio Light Art by Marlene background pages and paper elements that I have been using up to this point for the most part to create these pages. I also have some leftover of this transparency that I would like to use, and I have other scraps on my desk from past prompts in this book that I would like to use as well. So I think this is really, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, kind of like a cleanup, use your scraps, use what's on your desk type page, which I sometimes find challenging, but I also find very satisfying because I'm using items on my desk. So let's get into this. Let's go with the flow and see where we land. So I have this mini cutting board I am going to put behind the page because I certainly don't want to cut through the page behind it. And I am going to start by cutting the center of these flowers. Okay, so that is done. I think what I want to do is, for the background behind the flowers, I'm going to have something like this. So I will layer this page on the back here. Coincidentally, it goes well with the next double spread. But I'm thinking something along like this, and then in each flower add a paper element from one of these Art by Marlene books. I love Studio Light Art by Marlene. I love all of her paper elements. They're just fantastic. There we go. I like that a lot. So what I think I will do is get my Posca pens and just add some color to the stems of these flowers and then call it done. I'm not going to do much else to the background pages because I want the window behind it to pop. Let's do some blue, some green. What other colors do we have? We can pick up on the yellow, the purple. I think that should be plenty. We have a little bit of gold. Let's use some gold. Okay, so let's do some yellow. Let that dry. Let's do some blue over here. And I'm not stressing being exact. In fact, I am intentionally being loose, a little bit wonky. It's okay. I guess for this flower, the stem is more like a tentacle. It's a little bit weird, but all right, we'll go with that. I think for that one we'll add some gold. Yeah, that works. Do I want to do a little bit of the stem? Why not? We'll just do that. That kind of works. Don't want to fill it in completely, I don't think, because then it'll look too blocky. All right, I'm gonna add some gold because who doesn't love gold? Maybe we'll use a little bit of green. Yeah, that's good. Maybe we'll add yellow on this side over the gold. For whatever reason, that gold's just not popping. And that's what happens when you don't let your paint dry. I just smushed it everywhere and made a little of a mess. Ay, ay, ay. Is what it is. Let's try some blue up here. Maybe just some dots. I love my Posca paint pens, but I lack the patience when I use them. I just want to keep moving, and the end result is that I get a lot of this on my pages where I didn't let paint dry and I end up making a little bit of a mess. So I'm going to use my heat tool to set this. I think that's cute, just enough color. Look at that. Ay, ay, ay. C'est la vie. So let's get these paint pens out of the way. I store my paint pens in one of these little Tim Holtz storage tins. I use a lot of Tim Holtz storage tins for things other than Tim Holtz. Now, I do have a transparency. So I want to add some of that. To create a window type effect, just to have a different element. I like to just, when I can, add different things, different textures, different materials to my pages. I think what I would like to do is let's see, let's use a Sharpie and just the cut edges on the inside of the flower, I would like for them to just be a darker color. It's such a subtle, tiny little detail, but that's what I want. Bit of a wonky cut, easily fixed. And I am doing this from the back side of the page because I find when I do this method of coloring a cut edge of a page, my marker always slips and catches the page and these marks on there that I might not necessarily want on the front. So on whatever surface I don't want the marks, I kind of approach from the opposite side. It works for me. Oh, this will be covered up. And it's better to have the marks here than to have the marks there. Alrighty. I think what I want to do also is maybe I'll use the Sharpie. I would like to... Wait, no, I don't need to use a Sharpie. I have a black... no, we're gonna use the Sharpie. I was about to say I have a black paint pen, but I'm not gonna go there. We're not gonna do that. I'm just gonna use this same black Sharpie just to create a frame. We are in July. Isn't July like junk journal July? Isn't that what July is mostly in our little crafty community anyway? You know how every month we kind of have a little community theme or project for everybody to join in on, a challenge, whatever it may be. Isn't July like junk journal July? I think there's also Christmas in July. That's another big one in our little crafty community. I was recently watching some junk journal July videos, and they were just fabulous, so inspiring. We have some very talented people in our community, my friends. Very talented. Also very dedicated. Junk Journal July, I believe, is a daily challenge, isn't it? Daily, yeah. That's a lot to post a video every day. And some people genuinely keep up with it. Daily challenges are difficult for me for a lot of reasons. Time being the biggest. And I will participate in daily challenges, but the format I usually take is I will not post daily. I will do my prompts as I am able to, and then post a catch-up style type video, kind of like what I'm doing with this. I can't even keep up with a weekly challenge, right? How am I going to keep up with a daily challenge? I can't do it. At least not, my schedule just doesn't allow for it, my friends. I'm using some double-sided tape to adhere this transparency. Might have to trim. Oh, there we go. Might have to trim this a little bit more. I love this. I think what I want to do, really, I should have done this before I added the transparency so that I could heat set it. Ooh, did you see that? This pen just said nope. Just carefully blotted off the excess and it's fine. Okie dokie. That's cute. We just have to be careful. I do it to myself, my friends. I do it to myself. The correct order would have been to add the dots, use my heat tool to set it, and then add the transparency. Now I can't set those dots because I don't know if this transparency is heat resistant. We're going to go with the blues in the back. Yeah. Yep. These are the 3 cutouts we're using. I do believe you were here, Missy. Oh, let's see. How do you look there? You look good anywhere. Let's just figure out. There we go. That one up there like that. Let's get some glue. Add a little dot of glue on each of them. I don't know if they are going to stick. I think you need to lose some. I don't know if they're going to stick onto the transparency, but I just needed to stick temporarily until I get the background page once I glue the background page, I don't have to worry so much. Yeah. So let's have to be a little cleaner about cutting this background page, because we will see it on the next double spread. So I'm gonna be a little neat about it. I am using my paper punches. This one punches round corners to add the round corners to the page. It's perfect. I am going to use some glue just on the edges, not in the center. I will probably staple this on as well. The staples are just another element, and also will make me feel better about sticking to plastic. There we go. We'll do it this way. I am just using my tiny attacher, Tim Holtz tiny attacher. Perfect. I think that turned out really cute. I think what I will do now, we need a sentiment, because all my pages have sentiments. Let's see. Sometimes I start off with a sentiment, other times I do the page and then find the sentiment. I have a book. Let's see if I can find it. I'm sure I have, oh, there it is, I see it. A book of sticky quotes. Let's see if we can find one that works. I like this. Creativity is not a competition. Ooh, and I like the yellow, so let's go with that. So let's break this down. Maybe put it here. Creativity. Wow, the tremors are starting to kick in. Is not a competition. We'll do it that way. Let's get some glue for this. I think we'll do it here. Creativity. Is not a let's try to get it on the page. Competition. I'm going to use my Stabilo all pencil. Better. Better. Okay. I like that a lot. Very happy with that. Let me clean up a little bit and then figure out the neighboring page. Okay, now that I'm cleaned up a little bit, let me start work on this neighboring page. I have this collage paper. It is also part of Art by Marlene. This is her signature collection of collage paper. This one is CPBM01. I think this will be okay on the neighboring page. Colors seem to work. Paper trimmer. And again, I'm going to cut on the inside of the guideline that I just drew so that the page is not an exact fit, but slightly smaller so that I don't wedge it right here on the fold. When you do that, it just impedes the page. It doesn't allow the page to open and close properly. Yep, that works. I'm going to use my paper punch around these corners. Use my glue stick. In combination with my wet glue. I don't trust glue sticks 100%. I think over time it does fail, the glue fails, and it does start to lift. So I use it in combination with wet glue. Now I am going to find some washi to add along that edge there and just break that up a little bit. I think that'll work. I think that'll work. And I think that'll work. I think we can make that work. Let's start with the widest of the tapes. Gonna add a dot of glue to the top and to the bottom. Really make sure this washi tape doesn't go anywhere. Let's do this one next. I just love that I get to use my washi. It just makes me happy, it really does. I need a place to stamp the number 20. So, because this page is so busy, I am just going to take a piece of masking tape. And we will put the number 20 down low. We'll put it there. So I'm going to use my StazOn Jet Black ink. And I am using a stamp set by Tim Holtz. This one is the Sign Painter. It is CMS 484. That is what I am using. It has these fantastic numbers here at the bottom. That's what I'm using. There's 20. And I think I'm going to use a fine liner and write the prompt on this page. The prompt was photos. Let's make sure. Photos. All right, so we'll write photos here. That works for me. And that is the finished page. I think that looks really cute. And I'm so pleased that I finally used one of the black and white background pages in the book. Up to this point, I have covered or seriously altered. Like, here's one spread where the background was kind of like shades of gray, and I covered most of it up. This is the first time I'm actually using the spread with the black and white and keeping the black and white, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. Now that I'm done with week 20, let me share with you weeks 9 through 19. I shared weeks 1 through 8 in a video. I will post that video down below. So for week 9, the prompt was disco. This is the spread. And in this case, I used some paper elements that were from a collection by Dilutions, I believe. For me, this very much screams disco. It's very eclectic, it's fun, it's bold, it's loud. I love it. And when I think of disco and the style that comes to mind, when I think about disco, I think this sentiment makes perfect sense. Do it your way. That is week 9. Week 10 is when I switched to using more of my Art by Marlene paper elements. So you will see an extreme shift in colors. So for week 10, the prompt was elements. And when I thought elements, I thought more like the colors of fire and ice. So I went with blues and oranges. And to have literal water element on the page, I used this cute little fish bowl, this cute little fishy. Sometimes it takes me all day to get nothing done. That was week 10. Week 11 was tea time. And when I read that, I thought mushrooms. Don't know why, but I was just going to go with it. You know, that's how I journal. The first thing that comes to my mind when I read a prompt, that's what I go with. I don't question it. I do not question the wonks in the brain. I just go with the flow. And in this case, it was mushrooms. So these are more paper elements that are from the Art by Marlene collection, as is the sentiment. And the sentiment reads, "It's okay if you don't like me. Not everyone has good taste." Week 12, the prompt was transparent, and this is the first time I used transparency in this particular journal to create kind of like a fishbowl effect, and I absolutely adore this spread. This might be one of my favorites. And all of these paper elements and backgrounds are Art by Marlene. Always be yourself. Week 13 was underwater. That was an easy one. Working with the colors that happened to fall on week 13 was a little rough. When you think of water and ocean, you definitely, at least I usually don't think of oranges and yellows. To me, this reads very, very hot. Like, if this is the ocean, it must be boiling hot, but it is what it is, and I worked with it, and I think it turned out okay. So that is underwater, and again, all paper elements from Art by Marlene. Week 14, I believe, was vintage. Yes, it was. And this is when I switched the background papers. Instead of using Art by Marlene, which doesn't always give me a vintage vibe, I went with this DIY shop paper pad. This is old. This is from 2016, and it is by American Crafts. It's an amazing collection of papers. Definitely gives me a vintage vibe. When I read that prompt, I thought of this paper pad. So I used one of these sheets from here just to change the background and give it more of a vintagey vibe. I did use a paper element, a paper doll, in fact, from Art by Marlene. Her outfit was very vintagey, and I love the colors, and it went with the background. So easy peasy. That was week 14. Week 15 was weird. Like, literally, the prompt is weird or weirdness. This is probably one of my least favorite double spreads. I think it's I was just not feeling inspired by this particular prompt, and I was being especially lazy when I was doing this double spread, in that I did not want to use my gesso to kind of dial back the background. I just was not in the mood to use the gesso, and that was a mistake. The background needs to be a background, and in this case the background is competing with my focal point. So this page, this double spread, is a little too busy for me, but it is what it is. You know, not everything's going to be perfect. Sometimes things are just and this is just and I'm okay with it. It's just a reminder that every day is not a good day. Some days are off days, and that's okay too. So week 15, this was an off one for me, but it's done nonetheless. Yeah. The prompt here reads, no, not prompt. The sentiment here reads, "Dance with the fairies and talk to the moon." Week 16 was words of wisdom. I immediately thought of a model of my mantra when it comes to my life. and my circle. Work to live, don't live to work. I'll say it again. Work to live, don't live to work. That is very important to me, especially in my profession. Those are words I live by. So when I read that, I thought, here's an opportunity for me to put those words to paper. And that's what I did. This is the background page that I had to work with. So I chose paper elements that popped against that. Love this little queen eclectic owl. Also, when I think of wise, I think of owls. So it makes sense to have an owl on a page where you are sharing your words of wisdom. She's also going to be eclectic because she's a queen. And, you know, if you're going to live your life, live it like this, loud and proud. So that is week 16. Week 17 was Zen. And this Zen for me is more in the sentiment. Today I will not stress about things I can't control. I try to remind myself about that every day. I will not stress about things I can't control. And these are all paper elements and backgrounds that are from Art by Marlene. Okay, so I'm looking at this wondering, why do we have little feet here? That's just a scrap. Well, now that makes more sense. I was not understanding the little feet. Did you see that? This was accidentally attached to the page. Little feet. Who lost their little feet? I don't know. We'll put them off to the side in case we find her later. Week 18, the prompt was Zodiac. Zodiac was a bit of a struggle. I will be honest and say I don't believe in astronomy, not astronomy, like zodiac signs and daily horoscopes and stuff like that. So this one just did not speak to me. I struggled with it, but at the end I came up with this. I found a background with some constellations, and I think zodiac has a lot to do with stars and constellations, so that's what I went with. And these are all paper elements that are Art by Marlene. Dream a little is the sentiment here. I'm zodiac, I don't know. 19, whimsical. This one was fun. Open up your heart. And here we have a little cat, a paper doll, and a little bird on her head. And to me, it's a whimsical, cutesy vibe. So I was happy with it. And then, my friends, we are up to week 20, which is the one we just did together. Creativity is not a competition. I love the way this one turned out. So that is my share for this video, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. I truly do appreciate you. And I will see you all in my next video, my friends. Until next time, bye-bye.